my favorite people, I'm coming back to you with another Formula 1 video. We've been doing a lot of race highlights and 2023 Formula 1 content on the Patreon. You guys know I can't post it on YouTube because of copyright. I've been having some issues with that. But a thing, like a reoccurring problem that I'm finding with these races, and like what gets my blood freaking boiling, is when a driver clearly is trying to go around another driver, but the person in front of them is not letting them pass. It makes me so mad, because I know the point is you want to be first, you want to win the race, whatever. But if someone is clearly, like, I'm even getting mad talking about it. If someone is clearly trying to pass you, rather than almost playing bumper cars or making them run into the wall and wreck, why not just let them go around, you bastard? So today we've got a video that's called, What Are the Overtaking Rules in Formula 1? Because we all know in real life, or let me back up a little bit. Things from Formula 1, which is why I find it such a special sport, is like from the dynamics of the cars, the aerodynamics, to just the way that the cars are produced, everything trickles down into normal day. Like your Toyotas, your Hondas, or for y'all, I guess your Renaults and, I don't know, whatever other car brands y'all buy. The forms of the cars trickles down. So the same thing applies to driving. So as you know, as like a normal driver on the road, whenever you want to overtake someone, you go around them on the left, or that's how you're supposed to be. And all the slow people merge to the right, which, by the way, that's not always how it is in America, especially. I'm going to be doing a driving in America video for you guys so you can see what trouble I have to deal with whenever I drive to and from wherever I'm going. So look out for that video. But my point is, Formula 1 is a sport that really does impact and influence the rest of our lives. So why doesn't the rule of overtaking or passing apply also in Formula 1 races? Like it's working backwards in my mind. So today we're just going to be checking out what the overtaking rules are and getting a better understanding as to why these people will not move out of the way, especially for... Let me calm down. Because I just watched the Azerbaijan race highlights. I just watched the Melbourne highlights. And again, it was a reoccurring freaking theme. It pissed me off low-key. I'm a little tickled by it. But let's see the overtaking rules and what the buzz actually is. Sorry for getting a bit passionate there.
What are the overtaking rules in F1? I knew we'd get there one day, and today is the day we dive into the gloriously complicated mess that is overtaking in Formula 1 and who's allowed to do what. Of course, whenever there is a controversial incident between two drivers, there is massive debate as to who was at fault, who deserved a penalty, and so on. It's never really clear-cut unless a driver clearly plows into the side of another car.
God. Should we do a bad driver video? Let me know, because there's a whole bunch of compilations like that on YouTube. Like just bad drivers.
There are many rules within the realms of overtaking, so let's start with the simplest to understand, the one move rule. This is around defending a position as opposed to attacking. When a driver notices they're under threat of losing their position, they are allowed to commit to one defensive move away from the racing line to, you guessed it, defend their position.
See, that makes more sense. But what I was seeing was they would do the one move, and then they'd move again whenever the person tried to juke them out. So they were just bouncing, and the person has to, you know what I mean? It's like you're you know what the car dealerships, the little bag men? That's what the cars were doing, bouncing around on the track. And it's dangerous. Move. I respect the one move rule, because, again, you get to defend your position. That should be your right. But you shouldn't be able to just bounce back and forth in front of the person.
Anything more than one defensive move is considered weaving and illegal by the stewards.
Good.
However, this is where it already gets confusing
people, 'cause they're still
for new
doing
fans
it.
who hear this rule and then watch a car go from the racing line to their defensive line and then squeeze
and
back over to the racing line. That's, however, deemed as a driver preparing for the corner ahead, as opposed to defending their position as such, and so they're allowed to do that as long as they leave at least one car's width between themselves and the edge of the track. We've already hit grey area number 1, haven't we? It's probably worth mentioning too, there's also a responsibility of the defending driver to not choose to change their line too late and catch the attacking driver by surprise. These cases are dealt by the stewards on a case-by-case matter, as lots of factors need to be taken into account, such as closing speed of the attacking car.
And it's already so many different components you have to factor in as both drivers. you could just be driving and not even realize that you've accrued penalties from stuff like this. Oh, your car wasn't far enough from the wall, as they were saying, or you moved over too early or too late from the little jagged line they were talking about. It's just so many different pieces. Like, the tracks are so windy, which there's another video I want to do where it's like, how the heck do they take the curves so fast? Because these cars are, again, going like 100 plus miles per hour, almost 200 miles per hour. So it's just, it can be catastrophe in like a split second. So that's another reason why I think, though Formula One tracks are more interesting to watch, the circle and having like specific lanes, like in NASCAR, may be safer or better. That's just, let me know what you think about that. But that would prevent situations like this when there's more room to just easily drive, you know?
How late the defending car moved and so on. Already you can see why there's so many disagreements around penalties.
Yeah.
Whilst you're absorbing what I've just said around subscribers, which would be... So how about when the drivers are side by side battling out on a straight?
Side by side
well,
on
in
a
simple
straight?
terms, they must respect the other car's space and not bully the other driver out of room. One example that immediately comes to mind, and I don't like mentioning it because I'm a massive Schumi fanboy.
Michael Schumer. That's another one. We just did a Hamilton video, but it got blocked and copyrighted, so it got taken down. But let me know if y'all want me to do another Hamilton video or a Michael Schumer video. Obviously, the ones that get copyrighted will go on Patreon.
It's from the 2010 Hungarian Grand Prix, where Michael Schumacher very nearly shoved Rubens Barrichello into a concrete wall trying to defend position. It was a scary moment and certainly not allowed. But even with things like this, it's up to the stewards to decide how much of a rule break it is.
Michael
There's no
sometimes,
hard and
he does
fast
some
rule that says if you
bad
squeeze
stuff
a car
sometimes,
to
though.
within 10 centimetres of a wall, you get a 10-second penalty. And you can sort of understand why, because every single racing situation has many different factors to it. Now, if I was to say to you the 2018 Azerbaijan Grand Prix, two Red Bulls coming together, what part of racing do you think I'm about to talk about? It's, of course, the overtaking rules in and around a braking zone.
The worst is when, like, I just did a video about the history of Formula One, and it really is unfortunate whenever the ego of the drivers overshadows the ego or the goal of the team. It's kind of sad.
Because they're not the same as being on a straight. An abnormal change of direction when braking is seen as extremely dangerous, as it gives the
you gotta
attacking driver
drift sometimes.
very little time to react. That's not to say a driver cannot change direction at all during a braking zone, but it is understood by the drivers that anything too aggressive could grab the attention of the stewards. As for the Daniel Ricciardo and Max Verstappen incident, they both received a reprimand on that particular occasion. Now, let's talk...
So what's like the Oh, McLaren! I didn't wear my McLaren shirt today. But like, you know how in the or maybe you don't know, but in the NBA, if you do something bad or like that your team deems bad, whether it's out in public or during a basketball game, you get like a fine, and it's maybe 5,000, 50,000, a million, you know, whatever. They get charged money. What's a penalty to a Formula One driver? Like, does it just influence their race, or does it also influence the team, or just their pocketbook? Because some I feel like would matter more than others.
Talk about the Lando Norris-Sergio Perez incident from the 2021 Austrian Grand Prix. This whole argument was around whether Sergio was entitled to space around the outside. Disputes over who deserves what space is one of the biggest arguments in racing and will continue to go on for, well, probably eternity. The understanding is for around the outside manoeuvres, the attacker must be side by side with the defending car, as opposed to halfway alongside if they're attacking on the inside. So with this ruling in mind, you can sort of see why the stewards felt they had to penalise Lando. Sergio was certainly alongside and by the rulebook was entitled to space. I'm not saying I agree with these rules, by the way.
But I don't like that. See, you went from this wall now to pushing this guy off the wall. You should have just stuck to your wall and you both ride it out, and whoever can floor it faster gets to be in front. Did y'all see how I feel like the orange car messed up there? Because he had his space and then he overtook the Perez's space.
Side and by the rulebook was entitled to
you both just write it out. Homie's by the wall, he has enough space, and whoever passes on the straightaway passes. But then Norris goes ahead and starts pushing Perez against the wall too.
Space. I'm not saying I agree with these rules.
He went very wide. He didn't need to do that. He should have just stuck to the wall.
By the way, as I felt the Lando penalty was pretty harsh. Oh, and it's probably...
so he did get penalised. I agree!
Also worth mentioning that any overtake has to be done in a controlled manner, not simply dive bombing. That doesn't deserve space. The beauty behind the complicated rules of overtaking in motorsport. I bet you're glad you clicked on this video, right?
I am.
Hopefully you feel less...
I feel like this video did sort of explain things better. I think that's the end. Right? Let me see.
When it comes to overtaking, and the rules simply cannot be clear-cut because...
Okay, so the rules aren't clear-cut, but there's rules that aren't necessarily strict. They just are based on interpretation for each case, which I respect. But I do like that we got some clarification on the one move rule, because again, I saw a lot of bouncing back and forth. Like the person would be coming from behind and this person is just trying to stay in front of them. You're not supposed to do that, and I'm glad that I got clarification for that. But let me know what other Formula One content you guys want me to do on the channel. As you guys know, Eurovision just happened or is about to happen, and yeah, I've got a lot of content, a lot of ideas, a lot of things for you guys to do, as well as POV content. Again, I'm going to be doing a driving in America video where y'all will actually get to see what it's like to drive on a highway, a 5-lane highway in Texas in my car, me personally. So I'll be in the driver's seat and acting like a Formula One driver, and y'all will get to see a POV experience of that. So subscribe to me here, let me know what kind of content you want, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye.